guys, my name is Courtney Budzyn and this is What's for Din. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the best chocolate cake you will ever have in your entire life. This is so moist and so rich. I'm one of those people who love a dense and moist chocolate cake. I like the fudginess of chocolate cake, and we're going to top it with a nice ganache topping that is to die for. So for the ingredients, you're going to need unsweetened cocoa powder, some boiling water, instant coffee powder, sour cream, granulated sugar, some eggs and egg yolks. You're also going to need some softened butter, some vanilla extract. You're going to need some baking powder, baking soda, and some salt. And you're also going to need some all-purpose flour. So before we start anything, you want to make sure that all your ingredients are at room temperature. Your butter, your eggs, your sour cream, everything pretty much except for the boiling water, because it helps for the mixture to incorporate better and to bake better. Some kind of weird science behind that, don't ask. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cream my butter and my sugar together. I know it looks like a lot of sugar, but hey, it's a real good cake. That's all I'm saying. So this takes about 3 to 5 minutes depending, so just cream this until it's nice and fluffy and light. Okay, that's nice and fluffy. Now we're going to move on to the next step. I'm just going to crack all of my eggs. Hopefully none of them roll off. So I'm doing 4 whole eggs, and then I'm doing 2 egg yolks. And the reason being is because egg whites dry out the cake, whereas egg yolks actually add a lot of moisture. Before we start beating in our eggs, I'm going to add some vanilla extract. We're going to try to do 1 egg at a time and beat until it's fully combined after each egg. So now that we're done with that, we're going to move on and mix up our dry ingredients. So all I have is my flour, my baking soda, baking powder, and a little bit of salt. You don't want to forget that even when you're baking, salt always enhances the flavor, whether it be sweets or a salty dish, no matter what. So add just a pinch of salt, and it makes all the difference. The next step, what we're going to do is bloom our cocoa powder and our, I don't know why that always sticks on me, and our coffee powder. You really don't have to add the instant coffee, but I like to because it helps bring out the chocolate flavor. So to our cocoa and our instant coffee granules, I'm going to add boiling hot water. Like I said, this helps to bloom the chocolate, enhance the chocolateyness. So give that a good whisk and make sure all the clumps are out. Okay, and to that we're going to whisk in our sour cream. So now that that's done, what we're going to do is combine all the rest of the ingredients all together. So what I do is I add a little bit of flour into my butter mixture and a little bit of the chocolate. And then combine that well, and then keep going until you're completely mixed through. Okay, that looks about good for me. And just like with any other cake, you want to make sure that you don't overmix, because then it can cause the cake to get really tough. So what I have here is a 12-cup bundt pan, and what I did was spray the inside and then coated it evenly with a layer of cocoa powder, the same cocoa powder that we used in the recipe. That way it comes out easy, doesn't stick, and it doesn't leave, because if you use flour, it might leave a white puff on the outside, and who wants that? When you're doing it in the bundt pan, you want the nice shape. So that's nice and prepared, and we're going to pour this right in. Oh my goodness. It's like a waterfall of yumminess. I'm gonna give it a nice shake. So now all you gotta do is put this in a preheated 325-degree oven for about an hour to an hour and a half. So it depends on how hot your oven runs, but you wanna bake it until when you tap on the top, it gently springs back, and then you're done. And then you just wanna put it on a cooling rack and let it cool. And then when that's done, we're gonna go on to the next step by putting the ganache on top. Ooh it, ooh it. So once your cake is done and you pull it out of the oven, you want to make sure you only let it cool in the pan for a maximum of 10 minutes. And then you want to invert it onto a cooling sheet, just like you see me doing here. And you only want to do it for 10 minutes. Any longer than that, then you increase the risk of it sticking in the pan, and then you just have a disaster. So as you can see, mine stuck a little bit to the bottom of the pan, but it's really not that big of a deal. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Life's not perfect, but let me tell you right now, that cake is going to taste perfect. So for the ganache topping, all you need is some heavy whipping cream and some melted butter, and then I have some semi-sweet chocolate chips here. All I did was put the heavy whipping cream in the microwave to warm it up. and the butter I just melted in the microwave. So we're gonna add the butter to our chocolate. And the butter helps to make the ganache more shiny. So you really don't have to use it, but I like it for decorative purposes. So I'm just gonna pour that in, and then I'm gonna put the lid on and just leave it for a minute. So now it's been sitting for some time. I'm gonna take the lid off and I'm just gonna whisk it together until it's nice and smooth. What I did was I put my cooling rack over top of a baking sheet that I just put parchment paper on, because when we pour the ganache on top, we don't want it to pool at the bottom. If we were just using a plate, then it would just all stick to the bottom. So any ganache that's left over that's too much will just leak through these little holes and it'll be easier to clean up. And I'm going to pour the ganache over, letting it drip down the sides. That's the beauty of it. And now that that's done, just for a little bit of decoration, I like to put some crushed walnuts on top. You don't have to do that. So now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna let this sit until the ganache sets. So it depends on the temperature of your room. If it's like winter time and your house is a little bit more cooler, that's gonna take less time. If you really wanna speed up the process, you can put this in the refrigerator and it should be good in like 10 minutes. So just wait until the ganache is set, then you can serve it. And this cake is actually a lot better the next day. Look at how moist, you can just see how moist that is. Come on. Now, this is originally supposed to be called a devil's food cake because it's so decadent and delicious, but I don't like that guy, so I'm not gonna call it that. Have mercy. So I hope you enjoyed spending time with me, and if you do want to remake this recipe, just look below in the description box. I'll have all the measurements as well as the written instructions. And if you did like this video, don't forget to smack that like button. Fly. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Peace out.